Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely, and judging by the pile of research you sent over, this one's a hot topic.
You got that right. Seems everyone's fascinated by digital transformation these days. We've got academic papers, transformation-digital.pdf being the main culprit, expert opinions, even real-world case studies piled up here.
Yeah, it's not just some tech industry buzzword, is it? This is about how the whole world's being reshaped.
Okay, so paint me a picture then. What's changing? How's it different from, say, back when everyone was trying to Googlier things awkwardly?
Well, for one, it's way bigger than just new words. We're talking organizations, businesses, even just how we live day to day. Everything's operating under a new set of rules, really.
So this impacts everyone listening, not just the techies out there. What's the big takeaway for someone trying to, not get left behind in the dust?
Relevance, that's the key. Think about it. The jobs market's different. Skills people need are changing. Heck, even understanding what's happening in your own industry. This deep dive is like connecting those dots, making sense of this digital shift that's all around us.
But, like with anything, there are two sides to every coin, right?
Yeah.
Got to acknowledge the potential downsides, too. What about those?
Oh, absolutely. And the sources you sent, they don't shy away from the downsides either. Job displacement because of automation is a big one. Robots are only getting more sophisticated. And then there's the ethical stuff, like what about data privacy? Or algorithms that might have bias baked in.
Right, and we can't forget the human side of it all either. Culture eats tech for breakfast or something like that, right? You could have the fanciest gadgets, but if a company's culture is stuck in the Stone Age,
100%. Actually, there's some wild data on that. 62%, a whole 62% of professionals say their company culture is the biggest obstacle to digital transformation. That's massive.
it really highlights how important the human side is then. If
Right.
most people are saying the tech's not the issue, it's the people using it.
Exactly. Leadership, being willing to change, figuring out new ways to work together. It's all connected.
But before we go too far down that road, let's break down these technologies a bit. We're talking AI, IoT, robots. It's a lot to unpack. Where do we even begin?
Well, instead of getting bogged down in jargon, how about we focus on some cool examples? Like, forget Siri for a minute. We're talking AI that's helping companies hire better, even supporting CEOs with making huge decisions.
And let's not forget those robot hotel staff in Japan, right? The Henna Hotel experiment, I think it was called. Fascinating stuff, even if it wasn't always smooth sailing.
Right, definitely a learning curve there. But it shows how robots are moving beyond factories now. Customer service, logistics, even being companions to people. We'll get into all that.
And then there's the whole data explosion, too. Big data, data science.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming just thinking about it.
Think of it this way. We've always used data to decide things. Now we've just got tons more of it and better tools to figure it out. We'll demystify all that, and more importantly, we'll look at what it means for your career, too.
See, that's what I love about these deep dives. It's not just theory. It's about understanding how these big changes affect us personally.
All right, so AI. It's everywhere we look these days, but it's also kind of this mysterious thing, like what is it really? But the cool stuff happening behind the scenes, how it's changing how businesses actually work.
Right. We've all got our Siri or whatever, but transformation-digital.pdf, this research paper you sent, it had some eye-opening examples. AI that helps companies hire people, even do those first interview rounds. Wild.
And it's not just about making things easier for companies either. Imagine taking some of that human bias out of hiring, making things fairer from the get-go. Although, gotta be careful about algorithms having their own biases, but that's a whole other deep dive.
Definitely a conversation for another time. But I see what you mean. It changes the game for both sides, companies and job seekers. It's not like robots are taking over completely, though, right? It's more like working with us.
Exactly. A partnership, that's the idea. Let the AI do the repetitive stuff, the data crunching. Then you've got HR folks free to focus on the human stuff, building a good culture, helping people grow, all those things you can't automate.
Makes sense. And speaking of AI doing things for us, what about customer service? I've had my fair share of frustrating chatbot experiences, gotta say.
Oh, tell me about it. Those early chatbots, more trouble than they were worth, right? But now, with all the advancements, AI is actually getting good at that stuff. We're talking chatbots that can understand what you mean, not just what you literally type. Personalized responses, even predicting what you might need before you know it.
Okay, so from job hunting to getting help from a company, AI is involved. What about the really big picture stuff, though? Like CEOs using AI to decide the fate of their business.
Not quite robots taking over board meetings yet, but AI is definitely becoming part of how those big decisions are made. Imagine having this Super powered analysts right at your fingertips who can tell you all about market trends, what your competitors are doing, how customers are feeling. That's the power of AI giving leaders the info they need to make smart choices.
Like a superpowered research assistant for CEOs. Okay, shifting gears a bit, another big one we keep hearing about Internet of Things, IoT, connecting everything to the internet, right? But beyond, like, smart fridges and talking toasters, what's the real impact there?
Well, prepare to have your mind blown. The history of IoT is actually way more glamorous than you might think. Transformation-digital.pdf traces it back to a lipstick,
A lipstick. Hold on, I'm not sure I follow.
a microchips lipstick. Back in the 90s, this was the cutting edge.
Okay, now I'm really lost. What on earth does a microchipped lipstick even do?
It was all about inventory, believe it or not. Tracking where lipsticks were in the whole system, making sure stores had enough, cutting down on waste. Sounds kind of boring now, maybe, but this was the seed for all those complex systems we have today.
So from lipstick to, well, potentially life-saving stuff too, right?
Yeah.
What about healthcare? How's IoT changing things there?
Remote patient monitoring is a huge one. Think about it, sensors, wearables, all tracking your vitals, if you're taking meds properly, even how active you are. Doctors can keep an eye on patients without needing everyone in the hospital all the time.
That's incredible, like having a doctor with you 24/7. And what about smart cities? They keep popping up in the news.
Another area where IoT is huge. Think about sensors that control traffic lights, keeping things moving smoothly, or monitoring air quality so we can tackle pollution hotspots. It's about making our cities work better, basically.
Like the nervous system of a city almost, constantly monitoring and reacting. Okay, one more big technology we've got to talk about. Robots.
hmm
We've all seen the movies, but how close are we to, robots doing everything for us?
Well, we touched on the robot hotel staff earlier, which, let's be honest, had mixed results. But robots are showing up in some surprising places. Logistics is a big one. Think warehouses, sorting packages, all that. Robots are super efficient at that kind of thing.
Like those robot vacuum cleaners, but for, well, pretty much everything. What about robots as companions, though? That still feels very sci-fi to me.
It might sound futuristic, but it's already happening. Robots that help seniors who might be lonely or need help with everyday tasks. Technology can be pretty amazing, right?
Definitely blurring the lines between fiction and reality. Okay, before we move on to the human side of things, we got to talk about the elephant in the room. Data. It's everywhere these days. What's the deal with big data and data science? It all seems a bit overwhelming, honestly.
It's about making sense of the chaos, really. Transformation-digital.pdf describes big data as basically the insane amount of information being created all the time by everything. Data science is how we make sense of it all, like being a detective, but for information overload.
So it's not just about having data, it's knowing what to do with it.
Right. Data scientists, they use all these tools, stats, machine learning, even just making pretty charts and graphs to find the stuff that matters, the patterns, the connections, things that help us make better decisions.
Okay, that makes it a lot less abstract.
Yeah.
But what does that mean for, regular people's careers? Do we all need to become data scientists now?
You don't need to be a data whiz, but having some basic knowledge is becoming more and more important, whatever your field is. Whether you're in marketing, healthcare, even the arts, being comfortable with data is a good thing.
Like learning a new language almost, but the language of data.
Exactly. If you can understand data, it can help you spot trends, make smarter choices, communicate your ideas better. It's a valuable skill to have.
We've covered a lot of ground here. AI, IoT, robots, data. It's mind-blowing how fast things are changing. But we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the human side of all this.
And that's where things get really interesting. We'll dive into all that in the next part of our deep dive. How do companies create a culture that embraces all this tech? What does it take to be a good leader in this new world? We'll be back to explore all of that.
All right, so we've gone through the AI, the IoT, the robots, the data. It's a lot to process, right? Like stepping into a sci-fi movie sometimes. But we keep circling back to this idea of the human element. Can't forget about the people in all of this.
It's crucial, and transformation-digital.pdf, that research paper, it really hammers that home. Throwing tech at a problem isn't some magic solution. Companies need the right culture, one that's ready for change, that's adaptable. Otherwise, it's DOA. Actually, get this, 62%, SXTYTO% of professionals said their company culture is the biggest obstacle to making digital transformation work. It's wild.
Okay, that's a serious roadblock then.
Yeah.
So what does a good company culture even look like in this whole digital world? How do you create a space where both the tech and the people using it can actually succeed?
It's about building a company where things can move fast, where people work together well. The old ways, with all the strict rules and hierarchies, that doesn't fly in a world where everything's changing constantly. The companies that are winning, they're the ones encouraging their people to be creative, to take risks, to share ideas. It's about always being willing to learn something new, keeping up with the latest and greatest, because falling behind is easy.
It's deeper than just having the newest gadgets, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a whole different way of thinking even.
100%. Digital transformation, it needs a whole mindset shift. Gut feelings aren't enough anymore. Decisions need to be based on data, being open to new ideas, not being afraid to challenge how things have always been done, and realizing that change isn't a bad thing, it's an opportunity. That's the key.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But that probably makes things tricky for leaders,
Yeah.
right? Especially those used to doing things a certain way for a long time.
Yeah.
What kind of leader can actually guide a company through this whole digital maze?
Now that's the million-dollar question, and the research actually had some interesting points about it. Adaptability, that's number one. Leaders need to be able to handle things when they don't go to plan, to be comfortable with change, to shift gears quickly. The whole command and control style, that's a dinosaur in the digital world. It's got to be more collaborative, more agile.
So more like being the captain of a ship in a storm, always adjusting to the waves.
Exactly. Leaders can't be afraid to say, I don't know, to try things out, to give their teams the power to solve problems creatively. And maybe most importantly, they got to be ethical, especially with all this talk about data and how it's used. That's where trust comes in.
Which reminds me, the research talked a lot about building trust, making sure people can talk openly within a company.
That's got to be harder than ever now, right?
It's more important than ever, though. Transparency is key, especially with data privacy being such a big deal. Leaders need to be upfront with everyone, their employees, their customers, about how they're using data, keeping it safe, all of that. And within the company, people need to feel like they can speak up, talk about the ethics of what they're doing without fear.
Sounds like being a leader in this digital world is, well, a lot. They need to be adaptable, ethical, navigate all this complex stuff, and build trust while encouraging innovation. Whew.
Don't forget the challenges of managing a team when everyone's working remotely, too. The research highlighted work-life balance. That's a whole other can of worms we could unpack. So easy for those lines to get blurred when work is just a laptop away, 24/7.
Exactly. Setting clear boundaries, making it okay to disconnect after work hours, creating a culture where people feel supported, not pressured. It's a balancing act, for sure.
We've talked a lot about individual companies, but what about the big picture? Who are the major players shaping this whole digital future we're talking about?
The research dives into that, too.
Yeah.
Get ready for some acronyms. GeoFam, that's your Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, basically the American giants. Then there's BATX, Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent, Xiaomi, holding it down for China. These are the big dogs, the ones calling the shots in e-commerce, social media, AI, the cloud. The list goes on.
Sounds like a digital showdown, honestly. What about the smaller businesses, though? The ones who aren't tech giants with billions to throw around? Do they even stand a chance?
It's a question everyone's asking. And the good news is digital transformation isn't just for the big guys. There are tons of examples of smaller businesses, even those in old school industries, using these tools to do incredible things, reaching new customers, innovating, thriving. It's all possible.
Okay, that's good to hear. The research did mention that there are opportunities for everyone, but it seems like finding the right strategy is key.
Absolutely. One size doesn't fit all. Every business needs to figure out what they need, what their goals are, who they're trying to reach. Then you can build a digital strategy that makes sense for you.
And one of the examples that really stood out in the research was crowdfunding. It's amazing how that's changed the game, giving power to individuals, shaking up traditional business models.
Right. Platforms like Kickstarter, GoFundMe, they've leveled the playing field. You don't need a bank loan or to convince some big-time investor. You can go straight to the people, your audience, your supporters.
There's that story, Liz Longley, the musician. She used Kickstarter to basically take back control of her music, build a whole community around it. Really inspiring stuff.
It's incredible, right? That's the power of these platforms. Connecting with your audience, building something together, making things happen that wouldn't have been possible before. It's empowering.
So musician, entrepreneur, or just someone with a great idea, crowdfunding can make it happen. Amazing.
It's all about breaking down barriers. Digital transformation is giving individuals and smaller players a real shot in this global world. That's something to get excited about.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, Any final words of wisdom for our listeners? What are the big takeaways here?
I think the biggest thing to remember is this. Digital transformation, it's not a finish line you cross. It's a journey, a constant process of learning, adapting, growing alongside technology. Be open to change, never stop learning, and you'll be all right.
Don't fear the future, right? Help shape it instead.
Exactly. Understand the power of technology, but never forget about the human side. Empathy, ethics, connection, those are just as important. Let's build a digital future that works for everyone, not just a select few.
And on that note, that's our deep dive into the ever-evolving world of digital transformation. We've covered a lot of ground here, from AI and robots to the very human challenges of company culture and leadership in this new age. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed, that's okay. The key is to stay curious, keep learning, and remember, you're not alone on this wild ride. We're all figuring it out together.